Welcome to a Taste of AZ podcast. My name is Luke Irvin, and today we've got an epic episode lined up for you. But before we jump into that, just want to let you guys know real quick, we've got some brand new merchandise up on our website, including these Thanks for Supporting Local hats and 2 new shirts as well. If you like today's episode, please also leave us a review on your favorite podcast app, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow our email newsletter. With nothing else to say, let's jump into today's episode. So I feel like I need to begin this podcast with a proper howdy y'all or something like that, but yeah, right? Perfect. My guest, would you go ahead and introduce yourself and where we are right now?
My name is Katie Ellering. I am the self-appointed mayor here at Tortilla Flat. We've got a population 6 out here in the Tonto National Forest.
And despite the small population, you've got a ton of fun, cool stuff going on out here. Would you give us a breakdown of just briefly what all the things are out here?
Sure. So, yes, our small little town is only about 9.5 acres, but we do have lots of fun out here during the winter, basically from the day after Christmas up until it gets too warm. We've got a barbecue patio where we rock out with live music 7 days a week from 11:30 to 4. As long as the weather is nice, of course. We've got an awesome mercantile with the unique gifts from local vendors. We've got an amazing full-service restaurant where we serve prickly pear lemonade, and our chili is world famous. We've had the recipe for over 80 years. We'll get into that later. Wow. But and then we've got a country store where we sell so much prickly pear gelato. It's absolutely unbelievable. It's amazing. Really? And then old-timey candies and sodas and fun stuff in the country store. We also have a museum, which is actually a replica of the schoolhouse that was here in the 20s. Because back in the day, in the 20s, the Tortilla Flat had a population of over 120 people. So they had enough people that they needed a school for the kids. And so we took a replica of the schoolhouse and turned it into our museum because Tortilla Flat's never been big enough to have county records held in town somewhere. So everything we know about the town is basically in that little museum and from previous owners or people who have lived here before. I mean, I met a guy last weekend. His son was here doing a fun car show with us, and his dad came out, and his dad was actually the grandson of the man who ran the general store back in the 20s.
Wow.
So we went into the museum together, and he was like, oh yeah, that's my great grandfather.
No
and
way.
We just so I got his information because I wanted to, learn more. And we actually have a really cool campaign we're doing right now. It's, the lost stories of Tortilla Flat, because we don't want anything to ever disappear. And a lot of the people who, lived here or had, worked here or whatever, way back when, some of those people are getting older, and we don't want to lose any of those stories forever. So we're trying to make sure that we contact everybody who has some cool, unique, fun stories that we can add to our history book and, keep the town alive.
Absolutely. Well, and before we dig into some of those old stories and all the things that you have going on your guys' property specifically, if you could kind of give a breakdown of where we are relative to the Phoenix area and kind of some of the other attractions out here besides visiting your guys' spots.
Sure. So we're about 45 minutes to an hour from the greater Phoenix area. We're 20 miles outside of Apache Junction. And so Apache Junction is the closest city to us. That's going to be where you find a gas station, because you come all the way out here and there's no gas station or anything out here.
Good to know.
So Apache Junction is how you get here. There's only one road, the Apache Trail, which is Highway 88. So there's only one way in and one way out. Right near us, we've got the Lost Dutchman State Park down the mountain. We've got the Goldfield Ghost Town. We've got the Superstition Mountain Museum, which has the Elvis Chapel.
Okay.
And then right next to us, 2 miles from us, we have Canyon Lake. So Canyon Lake has a ton of recreation. There's boating and, all kinds of stuff to do on the lake. And then the Dolly Steamboat is super popular because they do daily scenic cruises, and they've got dinner cruises, and they're another local business. So we try to support local and help each other out. So we send a lot of people to Dolly Steamboat, and Dolly Steamboat sends everybody up to us. Cool. And so, we're the only place in 20 miles that you can get, good food and get some drinks, get some snacks, get some ice cream. You don't have to come up here for a full meal. You can just come up here for a treat, or just come up here for a drive and enjoy the scenery.
Well, it's pretty incredible. The drive up here, when you look at it on Google Maps, Google Maps obviously doesn't show the mountainous terrain like when you're actually driving through it. And so I've been familiar with this area for a while, seen it on maps and things like that. But until you make the drive out here over the mountain and into the canyon, it's quite incredible. It doesn't really look like many other drives that I've done before.
Right. And, and that's one of the unique things, like when we're trying to let, employees know or potential employees know where we are, we're literally through the mountain pass. It's the speed limit posted are, anywhere from 15 to 25 miles an hour. So, I mean, there's hairpin turns.
Yeah.
And so definitely be safe on this road.
Absolutely.
There's plenty of places to pull off to the side, take a photo, so don't be that person, driving down the road with their camera outside the window trying to snap a photo. It's too dangerous. It's not worth it. So
if you want those photos, have a passenger do it, because I can confirm it is a very windy and cliff-ridden road. But it's stunning because, when you drive to Flagstaff or Tucson, down to Tucson, you don't get any mountains. Up to Flagstaff, sure, you get mountains, but not the way that this is with the desert intertwined in it. And it's so brief when you're hitting those kind of climbs up there, whereas this windy road is one of the most stunning I've driven. So with that said, we are here inside the Saloon, you call it, correct?
Yep, the Superstition Saloon.
And you have food here, of course. Give us a little breakdown of some of the things that are on your menu. What can people expect?
We are American Southwest. So, I mean, we've got a fantastic burgers. We are well famous for our chili. We've had the recipe for over 80 years.
Wow.
So I literally had to buy the town to get the recipe. And
Really?
It's so popular that we sell the spice pack mix in the country store.
Oh, okay.
So, over the last few years, there's been people that haven't been, able to come out and visit us, but they call us or email and say, hey, I miss Tortilla Flat. I miss your chili. And so we've been a post office actually since 1927.
Really? Wow.
So people call and email us, and then we mail them out the chili packet so that they can
awesome.
make their own version. We give them the spice pack and we give them the recipe, and then you get to make your own version of it. But it's our version is definitely a secret.
Without giving up that secret, what do you think it is about the chili that makes people love it so much?
It's, the flavors are just mesh really well. It's definitely the spice level, I always say, is a 7 out of 10. I'm a Midwest girl, so I'm, not a big spicy fan myself. So when I do the chili, I tend to throw the cheese and sour cream and all that stuff on there. And our cornbread chili really is amazing. We take cornbread and then top it with the chili and throw some cheese, sour cream, and onion. And that one is definitely a very popular dish.
I'm a big chili person myself, and it sounds so silly saying this, but that's one of my signature dishes to cook because it's so simple in a way, it's so homely of a meal, but everyone that I've ever met loves chili, unless you don't eat meat, which is fine. But I will definitely be grabbing one of the spice packs from next door to bring that home and introduce that to my recipe. What else is popular on your guys' menu?
For us, our Reuben, the sandwiches are great.
Okay.
I am partial to our chili dog because two things. One, the chili is absolutely amazing. And then two, the hot dog is special to me because I grew up in Minnesota. And when I came out here 18 years ago, I found one of my local meat markets that I grew up to going in Minnesota called Von Hansen's.
Really?
They have a location in Chandler.
Wow.
And when I first moved here, I moved to Chandler, and I'm just driving around, getting to know the area, and boom, I see a Von Hansen's, and I'm like, taste of home, stop in, get some cheese curds.
That's awesome.
They've got the best all beef hot dog. And so I literally drive to Chandler to pick up the hot dogs because they don't deliver out here.
Okay.
They're a small local business too. And so I drive to Chandler to pick up cases of hot dogs and bring them up here so that we can serve an amazing chili dog on our menu.
What brought you out to Arizona?
Honestly, got tired of the snow, got tired of the cold. And my best friend that I grew up with, she came out to Arizona right after high school to go to college. And I came out to visit over spring break, and, we're hanging out in the pool, and I'm thinking, I'm going back to the snow, but we're hanging out in the pool here. So that summer I moved out here.
Nice.
And of course I moved out in July, and it was the hottest of the hot, but hey, if I can survive that, I'd rather have the heat than the snow, and now I get the snow-capped mountains in the distance. It's absolutely beautiful because when you drive through the mountains in the Superstitions to get to Tortilla Flat, you can see Four Peaks.
Yes.
And Four Peaks will often, if we get heavy rains or anything, like there's snow on Four Peaks, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's breathtaking. So I like the snow-capped mountains in the distance, and I don't have to shovel it.
Yeah, well, I remember it was probably 2-3 weeks ago driving down the 101 and seeing Four Peaks covered in snow. And then within a couple days, it was no longer like that. So seeing as how beautiful the drive out here was, I can't imagine with Four Peaks covered in snow and whatnot. So.
And the Superstitions too, because we're right by the Superstitions, and that has less snow. But when that has snow, man, like the pictures that people take and like the photographers that come out here and just seeing all those photos, it's pretty awesome. We have a lot of local vendors, like I mentioned, that they have canvases and they do greeting cards and all kinds of stuff. So they have all these cool photos that we have in the mercantile, and so we take advantage of those beautiful photos. Absolutely.
Well, and so this road, the Apache Trail is what it's called, right?
Yeah.
So this is an old carriage town, right? Am I saying that right? Stagecoach, yes.
Yeah, so Tortilla Flat is the last surviving stagecoach stop, basically in America.
And what exactly does that mean?
So when Roosevelt Dam was being built, it's about 20 miles from us. So when Roosevelt Dam was being built in the early 1900s, they hand-built Roosevelt Dam. And so in order to get supplies, the supplies would come in via train into Phoenix, and then they'd stagecoach them out to Tortilla Flat.
Wow.
And this was the stop. Then the workers who hand-built the dam would come to Tortilla Flat on their days off for a little R&R, pick up some supplies, and then head back.
Some prickly pear gelato?
Well, we didn't have it back then, but yeah. And originally the town actually was on the other side of the road, but there was a flood in 1942 that washed away the whole town, and then it was rebuilt on this side. So Tortilla Flat is, been around since 1904. So there's a ton of history, and I feel like I learn new things every day. I mean, I can go into the museum and, find something that I never saw, or there's stuff all over our walls. All of it's been donated, and hearing the cool stories, like several months ago, there was some guests that came in and pointed to some stuff like this cool gun and an Old West jacket hanging on the wall. And they're like, oh yeah, we donated that. And I was like, tell me the story. And so it's just fun hearing all the cool stories and how this place means a lot to everybody.
Yeah, well, and it's interesting. When you are coming up Apache Trail and then you finally get here too, it transports you back because of the look of the buildings and things like that. And if you imagine, riding a stagecoach through what I just drove into town on, it's pretty incredible, honestly, that people had to do that to build Roosevelt Dam.
Yeah, it's literally taking a step back in time. I mean, we've got the wooden boardwalk, and our kids' meals come with a cowboy hat. So
really?
when the kids get done eating, they've got their cowboy hat on. They're walking down the boardwalk, and their eyes are just like bug-eyed, like looking at everything. And then, of course, we've got dollar bills covering our walls, and we've got saddles for bar stools, and
I think you said
it's
there's
literally
like
the Old West.
$500,000 of individual dollars, right?
Over $500,000,
That's incredible.
And currency from over 130 countries now.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so you mentioned the flood that wiped out the town. That's not the only natural disaster that has affected this town, right?
Oh, no. So 3 years ago when we took over in September of 19. 3 weeks after we took over, Tropical Storm Lorena came through, and that's when the road got washed out. So you can currently only go 9 miles past Tortilla Flat to the Fish Creek Lookout, and then the road's gone. Like it's literally a dirt road on the side of the mountain cliff, and the water and everything rushed off the mountain so fast it just literally crumbled the road away. It dissolved it. It's gone. So it's been out for 3 years, and we have gotten ADOT to the table, and there's a feasibility study happening in the spring of 23. So we're hoping for some good results of that. That's going to tell us, hey, we can get that road back open, because
absolutely.
The Apache Trail, Highway 88, is Arizona's first historic highway, and it's an important road for a lot of people. And right now we've got guests that the Apache Trail is kind of a loop. So when guests come out, and we get visitors from all over the world, they come out to this area. They want to do the whole Apache Trail. So they hit Canyon Lake, or they do Lost Dutchman. They hit Canyon Lake. They hit Tortilla Flat, and then go through to Roosevelt Dam and Apache Lake, and then you can loop back around through and come back and and hit the 60 again.
Okay.
So it's a loop to go all the way around, and it's a fun loop. But
it's been washed away currently, right?
Yeah, for 3 years.
Wow.
So I mean, you can still get to Apache Lake. You can still get to Roosevelt Dam. You just got to take the long way around.
Okay.
And so, if emergency services are needed or something like that, the Maricopa County Sheriff's out here, they often have to take the helicopters now.
Wow.
If they're at Canyon Lake and there's an emergency somewhere else, they'll have to take a helicopter instead of driving 3.5 hours all the way around.
Yeah, seriously.
So getting that road back open is very important for us for many reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like not just you guys, but maybe the sheriffs as well, right? So looking at the history a little bit more, what exactly are these buildings? You mentioned the mercantile before. How were they functioning 100 years ago?
Well, there was a lot of the camps like across the road when people were living here.
Mm-hmm.
They were hand built. They were tents, that kind of thing, and they were basically what we call these days roughing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the actual structures that are here now, many of them have been burnt down over the years. There was actually a fire in 1987 that burnt down the restaurant building, and where the mercantile is now, there used to be a motel, the Gold Dust Motel, and so that burnt down and It took a while to get it rebuilt, and so they rebuilt and got the mercantile ready, and so all of these structures, have gone through some sort of disaster, or again, in the flood that washed away the whole town and rebuilt everything. So the oldest structure that we have on the property is the Bucket Brigade, which is the down by the museum.
Okay.
And that's kind of like that, and the big trees. Those are kind of like what we use when we're looking at all the old photos and
Sure.
trying to figure out where things were or how it all fit together, kind of thing. And so we just kind of use those markers as, oh yeah, this is where this was at one point. And so yeah, now it's we're very, very focused on protecting this place and not letting it go up in flames again.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, how do you even move forward after that and not just give up on the town? Because it's a population of 6, right? It's been through so many different things. With you guys running it now, what are the kind of things that you have to prepare for or deal with?
Well, I mean, this has definitely been like a revitalization, and this whole project that we've been working on the past few years, yes, we took over a business, but our passion now is making sure that this town lives on forever. And we've got local artists that are our curators that help us kind of bring the place, spruce the place up a little bit. We've got cool new paintings and redid some signage and just kind of revitalize the place, give it some more life,
Sure.
and so that it can live on forever, and I don't want to be we're only going to have Tortilla Flat for, however many years. We've got a lease with the Tonto National Forest.
Okay.
So once our lease is up with the Tonto National Forest, then it will get passed on to somebody else. So our purpose now is leaving this place better than we found it. And I think we've done a pretty good job of making some improvements and keeping the Old West nostalgic feeling. And there's so many people that have memories out here. It's very common for us to hear stories of, hey, my grandparents took me here when I was this big, and now I've got my grandkids here. So it's like, it's family traditions and things that we want to live on. And people that come out and visit us, thousands of people flood this area. It's absolutely insane how many people come out to this area, and being able to give them a unique experience and, leave their name with a dollar bill on the wall and,
Absolutely.
Saying, hey, I was there. And it's just becomes part of people's traditions and family traditions. And those are the things that we want to live on.
Well, and the way you guys have done it, it's surprising because it doesn't feel like it's that new of a building that it's been burned down and rebuilt. It feels like a very, very old building. And the little touches like the saddles at the bar and whatnot seem to really get people excited. What else do people like to see when they come in here?
Like I said, everything on the walls has all been donated. So, there's all kinds of animals that are out here, and we've got a giant python skin on the wall.
Oh,
that's
wow.
that basically takes up an entire wall. And so, that's funny because I always show kids and I'm like, hey, look at that big snake skin. I'm like, we found it out back, and then watch their faces go. I'm like, no, just teasing. We didn't really find it here. It's not native. It's a Burmese python, but it's pretty awesome. And so there's just unique things to see everywhere through the property. I mean, we've got the smashed penny, so you could get your smashed penny souvenir, and there's stuff not hidden, but like in plain sight all over the property that there's something new for you to find every time you come out here. We've got. We redid the museum when we had time over the past few years, and because we went through some of old archives when we took over the property, we got literally photo albums, many of them like this thick, full of stuff, and so we found cool old photos that we wanted to share and find the stories. We redid the Tortilla Flat history book. The former owners wrote a history book about all the previous owners and all this stuff that we want to live on. And so we redid the book and made sure that those guys were in the book too now, because they only wrote the book about the previous people and they weren't in it. So we wanted to make sure to honor them and get them in the book. And, of course we put ourselves in the book and redid that, and just sharing the cool history and what this place means. And it has so much meaning to so many different people for so many different reasons. I mean, there's families with small kids, there's, the car enthusiasts, the motorcycle enthusiasts, like we had the Volkswagens come out every year, and there was over 100 of them.
Wow.
And just the cool old buses, and the Beatles, and like just the Volkswagen Club comes out and they just take over the whole parking lot, and it's just so much fun. I mean, people will literally just pull chairs out of the back of the trunk of their car and just sit in the parking lot and just watch. It's just there's something for everybody. And when we were shut down during COVID, there were still so many people coming out here. One of the coolest pictures that we have, the wash across the road, it was full of water. And so there was kids and playing in the water, and then there was the bikers that were standing off to the side just hanging out in their leathers, and then there's some older retired couples sitting there in their lawn chairs reading a book, and it was just like, that is the vision of Tortilla Flat. It's here for everybody.
Absolutely. Well, with such a rich history, it's kind of hard almost to pick out a specific story, especially for someone who's not as versed in it. Is there a specific story or historical thing about this area that you really like about it?
Oh, wow. I think it's definitely hard to pick out one story in particular. Let's see here. I guess people always want to ask why the name Tortilla Flat or where that came from.
Because it's definitely not flat.
Right, yes. And so, there's different stories of why the name Tortilla Flat came about. I think the most popular story, and the one that I believe the most, is people were, because this was a passway through, people would bring cattle this way and things like that, and so there's, because of the mountainous area out here, there's flash floods that happen, and so there were a group of people that went into town and supposedly, had maybe a little bit too much to drink and got their way out here, and then they got stuck in a flash flood.
Wow.
They forgot to pick up the supplies that they needed to get.
Gosh.
And so they ended up being stuck here with only some flour and masa, and they made tortillas and then christened the place Tortilla Flat, because that's how they survived.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine getting stuck out here in a flash flood, because the road over there, it's not flooded like crazy. It's kind of a small puddle right now. But, I mean, I've seen a flash flood pick up, and with the geography of this land, that must be pretty wild. Have you seen one out here before?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. This road's been shut down many times, and we do have to pay real close attention when the rain hits, and like how much rain and for how long, because Arizona weather, sometimes it'll rain and for 10, 20 minutes and be done with. But if we get extended periods of heavy rain, those flash floods can happen out of nowhere. So we really got to take precaution and watch out for guest safety and the safety of our employees, and so yeah, when this road floods, we've seen people stuck on the other side of it.
Oh no.
And I've seen trucks come through it, and then I've seen cars come through it, and the cars were just like, oh my gosh, like crossing our fingers, like hoping they don't get washed away, because it's not a joke. It can be dangerous. So
yeah, I mean, the area that I live in over in the Scottsdale area got hit with a crazy flash flood. I want to say it was like 2-3 months ago, and it was just chaos. It's like everyone forgot how to drive. People trying to send it through giant puddles and whatnot. And that's scary, but it's not like you're out in the middle of nowhere like you are out here.
Right, yeah. And emergency services are not close by all the time. So, if we have to call 911 or something, then they're not here in a flash, right?
Yeah,
So.
Absolutely. Well, let's get a quick break in, and then we'll discuss some more after that.
Sounds good.
Real quick message for you guys. If you guys are enjoying today's episode, please leave us a review on your favorite podcast app and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to our email newsletter for all of the cool spots to eat and drink around town, as well as upcoming events and fun stuff like that. Also, we've got some brand new merch on our website, including these Thanks for Supporting Local hats and 2 brand new t-shirts. So make sure to check out our website for more. Now back to the podcast. So during our quick little break, I was looking at your, what did you call it?
The Tortilla Flat Telegraph.
Man, that is a tongue twister. The Tortilla Flat Telegraph. What exactly is this?
So it's a keepsake. Every table that comes into the restaurant to dine with us gets a complimentary copy. And it's got the cool stories. It tells about the history of Tortilla Flat. It tells some fun stuff. And then we've got, other classifieds and funny, unique things. We've got characters painted all over town. So the characters on the back here tell a story. And actually all of the characters, so like our restrooms are one of the only places it's okay to take a picture in because they're decorated really fun. So definitely when you come visit Tortilla Flat, check out the restrooms, even if you don't have to go picture worthy. But all of the characters that are painted there, the local artist that I was telling you about, Junction 42,
yes,
they actually researched and found these characters have some sort of history at Tortilla Flat. Like
wow.
they're true people that once lived here.
That's incredible.
And we also have Karen. She's one of the characters. She's an employee that's been here for nearly 40 years.
Wow.
Yeah, she's been here for almost 40 years. And so she's our town sheriff. Everybody knows Karen because she walks around with the squirt gun and
really?
and she hangs out on the patio when the band is here and she's basically kind of our sheriff. She keeps everybody in line, and if you get out of line, then you get squirted with the squirt gun.
Yeah.
And so I get phone calls and emails about Karen all the time, and she's a town staple.
Well, I'll try and be on my best behavior, especially if I see her.
Yes.
So, I've seen the characters around. This is pretty awesome that you give these to people. It seems like this is a very family-friendly place, but also a great place for adults because you have the recreation and whatnot. But looking at your beer list, there's tons of great Arizona beers on there.
Oh, yeah. All of our drafts are local beers.
That's awesome.
Again, we're a local company, so we want to support local. And we got the Four Peaks on there and,
Yep.
lots of good local beers there. And then we just started serving cocktails as well. So now we've got a couple of cocktails, and they're Western size. So we don't mess around here. You only need 1 or 2 of those.
Oh, yeah.
And they're Mimosa, Bloody Mary, the Tortilla Sunrise, and we've got Margarita. So we've got some new offerings for people as well.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, like looking at the list of breweries, you've got that brewing company, you got Barrio, The Shop, Dragoon, Lumberyard, Historic, Huss, but then I also see Tortilla Flat. You don't brew beer here, do you?
We don't, but a couple of the local partners that let us put our name on their beer.
Okay,
so
nice.
it's our signature beer.
Sure.
But it's locally brewed, but they let us put our name on it.
Well, and they have great names too, like Mule Oil and Snake Venom.
Yeah.
I feel like I just want one of those just because of the name.
Right.
So,
we've even got T-shirts with snake venom and mule oil on them.
Really?
It's so
That's
popular.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's
They've been
awesome.
around for a long time.
So is there anything else that we haven't covered that people should know about this place? I'm sure there's plenty of history. Maybe there's something else that comes to mind for you.
I think, Tortilla Flat's open all year round. We definitely have a lot of out-of-town visitors that are coming during the beautiful Arizona winter.
Yes.
So basically from Christmas up until it gets too warm, there's a lot of seasonal people come in and out-of-town visitors who come out and want to enjoy the weather in the area.
Mm-hmm.
And, we can always tell the out-of-towners, too, because they're in shorts and T-shirts in the winter when we're all bundled up in sweaters and stuff.
Me included.
Yeah, and then in the summertime, it's nice because our locals can come visit us who are hanging out at the lake, and we're only a half an hour away from Apache Junction, like Mesa area,
Sure.
so we're not like a whole hours and hours away. It's really, you can spend a half a day here. You can spend a whole day out in the area. It's really just what people want to do and how much time they have. Because again, we're not that far. So you can come out and, spend a few hours with us, or you can, come out and spend half a day or a whole day out in this area, just exploring and having a good time.
Yeah. Well, and because the drive is so beautiful, it doesn't feel like it was an hour 20 drive for me from my house. And it didn't feel like that at all, because once you get kind of outside the Apache Junction area, it's such a unique environment if you've not driven out here before.
Yeah, it's comparable to the Grand Canyon. So early 1900s, the Grand Canyon was not a tourist area. This was the tourist area.
Okay.
This is where they literally had, we have train schedules and the Wells Fargo trains that actually took tourists. So this was the tourist spot before Grand Canyon became a tourist spot. And so there were trains, that would bring people out to this area, stagecoach them out here. And this was the tourist area and more popular in the early 1900s than the Grand Canyon. And the beauty is comparable. Absolutely. I think it's more beautiful, but I'm partially biased.
Yeah. Well, and it's drawn out some pretty high profile tourists as well, correct?
Oh yeah. We've had famous visitors come through all, the town, over the years, and we've got a whole list of them in the museum. So you have to come check it out.
Okay, cool. I think I heard Johnny Cash was one of them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well then let me ask you this for a self-serving question. Do you have any hike recommendations or other things to do up here in terms of the outdoors?
The Lost Dutchman State Park is an awesome place for hiking. I like that because it's very well maintained, easy to get to. The parking is great. They have a visitor center, so there's different, levels of difficulty. If you want to take an easy hike or if you want to take a challenging hike. Right close to us, near Canyon Lake, just 2 miles from us, the boulder that trailhead is super popular because you can go in there and go for hours and
really?
You can go as far as you want, or as short of you as you want. And, there's again, difficulty level for everybody. And there's, that is definitely one of the most popular hikes around here. But if you want to know more, there's basically every employee up here is connected to this area in some way. We've got, like I said, Karen's been here for almost 40 years. We've got employees that have been here for 26 years, a server 20 years, 16 years, 14 years. So, we have a lot of tenured staff and this place means a lot to those people. Mm-hmm. And so you come up here and just start talking to any of us who work out here and we'd be happy to share some of our local trailheads or secrets or anything with you.
Sure. Well, and you said the population is 6 and all 6 of those people work here as well, correct?
Yep. Population 6.
Well,
that's why I call myself the self-appointed mayor, because I say I got all 6 votes, but it helps I sign their paychecks.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Well, obviously it must be a very cool place, not only because you can see it as soon as you pull in, but to keep people around like that and working here for that long, it must be pretty special out here.
Absolutely. That's why we want this place to live on forever.
Well, I think it's time for me to get a bowl of chili or maybe some cornbread chili instead and a local beer and then check out the museum afterwards.
Sounds great. Let's do it.
Thank you so much for hopping on with us, telling your story, and showing us how cool this place is.
Thanks, Luke. I appreciate you.
Cheers.